What's up, everybody? My name is Fernanda Sesto. I was born and raised in Uruguay, but I'm currently a senior at the University of Rochester in New York, and I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship, technology, and building things. I've been involved with the venture capital space since my freshman year of college, and I decided to create this podcast because I want to bring visibility to Latin America as an emerging market and help investors and just people who are interested in investing in the region to understand more about the ecosystem there. I will be interviewing investors and entrepreneurs, talking about their career, their experiences, trends, and everything related to ventures. In this episode, I talked to Santiago Rosenblatt, who is the founder and CEO of Strike, a software security testing startup that offers continuous pen testing tools to make sure a company's data is safe. Santiago is a computer engineer from Uruguay who has previously worked at PedidosYa and who started hacking at the age of 6. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, Santiago. How are you?
Doing great. How are yourself? How's your week been so far?
I'm great. Just started classes today, so pretty excited. So
Amazing.
very happy to have you here today. You're the first Uruguayan that I am interviewing, so that makes me really happy.
No, pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, so can you give me a quick intro about yourself and so everyone knows about what you do and your background?
Oh, for sure. So I'm Santiago Rosenblatt. I'm founder and CEO of Strike. So basically I'm 26 years old, but actually started hiking 20 years ago when I was six and a half. And that led to basically start offensively hiking lots of applications, streaming services of USA like NBA, NFL, NHL, PayPal, and then I ultimately ended up leading cybersecurity at some of the best or biggest companies in Uruguay and the LatAm region, like Astrobay, Locan, and ended up in PedidosYa behind the Leader Group, the Leader Hero Group, and now it ended up in Strike, which I'm gonna tell you about it later, of course.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually heard about you when there was this post or article in one of the newspapers that said, yeah, you were a hacker when you were 6. That was pretty cool. So yeah, tell me about Strike. How did it happen and what's the story behind it?
Well, our story. So basically, as I said, I started hacking really early, like really offensive hacker. I would hack everything related to passions. So from a really big fan of Kobe Bryant and the Lakers, so I would hack the official streaming services to watch Kobe Bryant play at 3 a.m. here in Uruguay, and then I started growing. Found monetization in PayPal that allowed me to have unlimited trials in Netflix and Spotify. And when I was 14 and a half, I found a vulnerability in a marketplace that allowed me to buy any item for free, just paying for the shipping. And I went ahead and I got 4 items, a PSP, like a PlayStation, a smart TV, a microwave, and a small TV for the kitchen. And it worked. So I realized, hey, maybe this is not good. You've been stealing for the past 8 years, which is crazy because I wasn't doing 15 there. And then it just kept going that way, and I started helping some of the best companies here, as I said. And that experience, especially a couple of years later, I went to study in UK, came back from Oxford, and at that point I was giving conferences with people from companies like Silicon Valley, in Europe and LatAm, and I was helping there, like big companies like Twitter, Datadog in Silicon Valley. And I was thinking, how is it possible we're spending tens of thousands of dollars per year or per month in these companies, while I was hacking when I was 8 years old with a $100 netbook in LatAm in Montevideo in my bedroom, and I was causing a lot of damage, and I was being able to bypass lots of security measures, like cybersecurity. It's being really expensive, especially the defense is being super expensive. We need to level the field, make cybersecurity defense as affordable as offense in some way. So that's how Strike happened actually. And originally I didn't want to create an enterprise or a business related to cybersecurity because it was just a hobby for me. I had some in the past that had to do with fashion and technology, or an application to go out at night. So nothing to do with this, but it just I think was casual that it ended up in strike.
That's pretty cool. And you started pretty young, right? Because strike, how long has it been since you started?
So strike this time when I come back from UK. So it's just on mid-March 2020. It's just on the beginning of the pandemic. I finished my term there, come back home due to the pandemic, and this idea of the problem I wanted to solve, the one I was just explaining, comes to my mind on the last days of March 2020. And since the first week of April that year, I started meeting with operators from different companies, CEOs, CTOs, CISOs, every week with one or two, asking, talking about this is the problem we're solving, this is our current solution, what's wrong with this solution? And that just kept us iterating from that year on, from consultancy to then penetration testing as a service, then continuous pen testing, and now we are moving towards continuous security, which of course I can deep dive just in a bit. But that's basically when it started, and we ended up releasing or opening to the general public this year. So 2 years later, actually. So back then I kept working at PedidosYa for 1.5 years more while I was still developing Strike. So to put you in time in some way. So from April 2020 till August, I was just validating. And on the first day of August 2020, I say, okay, I've been validating a lot. I need to keep validating, but on the 1st of August 2021, I need to have something up, like a staging, like a beta or something that needs to be up. So I coded in 10 minutes a small website, which was a counter, like a bash script that would code itself in online a counter that said, okay, 365 days remaining. And it just kept going on. And at that point, they said, I need to start alone, and people would just appear. And that's how it went. So I started that day with the domain and the web page. And 4 days later, I met Franco and Tommy, who ended up leading Strike with me since the beginning.
That's very cool. Very cool. So, this podcast is about venture capital, and I'm trying to interview investors and entrepreneurs who have experience raising money in LatAm. So, you've raised actually a seed round this year at 5.4 million. So, congrats about that. How is that experience like? And why did you decide to go fundraising? And, what was your strategy? If you can tell me more about that.
Yeah, for sure. So you said how was the experience like? It was amazing, amazingly intense as well. I can describe it as it's I say it's amazing because for me, and of course the other people are just listening to me and are not being able to see me, but the way I describe it is it was past year. Let's say when I started really speaking with VCs was I guess in September past year, 2021. And I describe that there's something really big going in front of our eyes, like just going through like this all the venture capital world with people wanting to help other people to create, to build amazing things, like a super massive enterprises that are solving big problems. It's just in front of everyone's eyes, like everyone's eyes. But it's like you can see it, like most people don't realize it's there, and suddenly you open a door, like an Narnia maybe, like you open a door, you get inside, and there's this insane world of people like super cooperative, like with operators helping young entrepreneurs contributing as well, people basically investing and lending capital to other person that basically wants to do something and helping. So that's how it felt. It felt like suddenly it's difficult to get there, but once you are there, it seems that everyone wants to help. So it's incredible. And I personally am a person that loves helping. I have my 2 hours per week on Tuesdays that is for helping people, and it just felt amazing really to find that. And how like how did I decide to go fundraise? Actually, it was casual. So originally I started with bootstrapping, and given these conversations, like the problem, what's like this our problem, this is our current solution, what's wrong with the solution. So after 1 year since I started validating, so it was March, April 2021, and 1 week I met with Ruben Sosenke, one of the co-founders and former CTO at PedidosYa. The next week I met with Sergio Fogel from the local, and the following week, like the last one, I met with Ari Burstein, former CEO and other of the three co-founders of PedidosYa. And I met with them. I said, problem, solution, what's wrong with the solution? They said, problem, it's super clear. I suffer it every day in my company. Solution, it's amazing. At that point, we were already in continuous pen testing. Um, what's wrong with the solution? And it's, you have more than 20 people that want to invest. And for some reason, although you know exactly where you want to go and how you're going to do it, what you need to do it, you're saying, no, I just want to use my own money, do bootstrapping, while you have people wanted to invest millions in yourself. If I would have been in your position when I started, I would have definitely have taken that money to make it faster, because it's the only thing that it will do, just help you, right? So that's how I ended up fundraising. And in terms of fundraising and then the strategy as well. So basically, as I didn't wanted to raise money at the beginning, what I did was, for the people who helped me in the beginning, let's say in the beginning of my career, my professional career while I was working, I said these 7-8 people, let's give them the chance to invest, because they have indirectly helped me build Strike, because they gave me they and their mentorship in some way, and their companies had gave me all the knowledge I'm using to build Strike. So I'm invited these 7-8 people to invest in a pre-seed at a lower valuation than the one we knew we were going to be raising. And these were like the three co-founders of PedidosYa, my former CTO at PedidosYa, Sergio Fogel from the local, Juan Jose Correa, which was my former CEO at AstroPay, and some other people from the local. And basically was, we don't need money right now because we're doing well bootstrapping. We let them invest, and so they could have, I don't know, like 0.25%. So those who wanted to invest 1 million, or those who wanted to invest 500K, like it was like, no, we don't need this amount of money. This is not for now. So actually, most of them invested again in the seed. So actually, it was first pre-seed with them, always thinking strategically, so that they would contribute in other ways that just giving money. So let's say it was smart money, and same for the VCs. So while I was doing bootstrapping, organically they, like, some VCs started arriving, and VCs, like really big VCs from Europe, for instance, like really known VCs. So I guess one of the examples of this is I developed in some way a track record given my professional work that ended up having, like, the former director of security at Delivery Hero reaching out to me through LinkedIn, telling me, hey, Santi, like I was speaking with the CISO of Palo Alto Networks. He's looking for investment opportunities. I know you're doing something big. I'm not asking. I want to connect the two of you. And it's funny because that was around March, April 2021. And I was waiting. I was developing Strike already, but I was waiting until something like August 21st to show him Strike, so, and to look into his opinion. And actually what happened is that he was trusting me so much that, without even knowing what I was doing, because he had no idea, he was like, I trust you. I trust you as a person and as a professional. I'm already referring you, without even knowing what you're doing, to this other person who actually is now an angel. And he came with this VC from Germany, who we decided not to. Well, it was kind of mutual. So he, like, the VC ended up not investing, but he did. And I often speak with him, with Sergey, and I guess just kept going on. So you start speaking with the VCs that arrive, then you decide who to get in. And I guess one of the key decisions was to make sure that the VCs we were picking were not based on how much they were going to invest or the valuation. Actually, it had to do with, again, strategic, making sure that they believed in our vision and wanted to contribute there. And we could have raised at a much, much higher valuation, like, I guess, like 10 million more valuation than the one we ended up raising. But we decided, of course, to raise at a lower valuation because we prioritized experience and strategy besides or contrary to only prioritizing money. And that's basically how it went. But to put in numbers and sum up these points, we wanted to raise 2 million on the beginning. In 3-4 days, we arrived to 500K commitment from operators like the Zero Fallout Networks, Matthew Wolowski from O0, of course, Sergio Foger, and some other guys, like really renowned guys. And we said, okay, a VC who wants to lead, we want to have significant equity, so let's increase to 2.5 million. And at the end, it was impossible to raise less than 5 million because we were oversubscribed for, I guess, it was like 17 or 18 million. And we ended up raising 5.4. So it was intense.
Yeah, that sounds pretty intense. But it's also, I think it's interesting that you mentioned that you kind of like prioritize the investors' experience and how much they wanted to get involved with like helping you and like giving mentorship, and also how passionate you were about your startup and like your mission. I think that's also very important, and that's the main difference between active and passive investors. So looking for active investors, definitely a great thing for entrepreneurs. So yeah. Did you want to add something?
No, I just want to say that I guess the way I think about it is that this is a long-term game. So it's not like a 1 year or 6 month thing. For me, this is like at least like, I don't know, like 5-10 years on. So this is a relationship in some way with the VCs, and you want to partner with the best VCs, the best people, even like in-house. So we have we put a lot of and like emphasis in the culture and Strike and our values and principles and how we move to give an idea.
Yeah, I definitely like that approach, Santiago. So in terms of LatAm and Uruguay, of course, what are some of the trends that you see in the region in terms of venture capital and entrepreneurship?
Okay, so some trends. So I see that now. So of course this year is a bit lower, but especially on the past one, as more and more unicorns started to appear from South America. They turn in some way to some kind of schools, like school for different kind of entrepreneurs that would give them the knowledge, the ability, the strategy, and the funding or the network to create their own thing. And you've seen different cases, especially in Uruguay, as companies as PedidosYa from Delivery Hero, the local, like all of these companies that then ended up having people going away and starting developing their own things with the mentorship of the former of the founders of these other companies. And I'm just talking about Uruguay, but Argentina is the same, Mexico the same. So I think, or Colombia, of course, with the Rappi Mafia. And if you actually have a look at Strike, so Strike, it's basically people who were in Astro, Paid Local, and PedidosYa all together, or even Delivery Hero. So our chief legal and strategy officer, she was formerly leading legal at Delivery Hero. Our CMO, or at some point he was at the Spegard, but then PedidosYa, Uni, and Creana. But there's a common thing, which is PedidosYa, and same with people from the local. So I think the common trends, well, new companies, like new companies growing with this global mentality, knowing that going global and building something big like this, like $5 billion company, $10 billion company, is possible. And that's one of the best things, like understanding this is something that it's achievable, like without any, it's a no-brainer that you can achieve that. You need to play hard and move, like travel if if you need to take a plane for 1 day or 12 hours to go to Europe from Uruguay or to other place, you just do it. Like you need to keep moving every time and iterating like every day to make better better your company, better improve yourself as well. But in terms of strengths, I'm seeing lots of new companies being out there that want to go global, that understand this is possible, and you see that more companies are raising money right now from strategic investors, especially to go conquer these new markets abroad.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Marcial mentioned this also in the first episode of this podcast, that when you have these big companies already established for a while in the region, then the employees go and start their own startups, and that kind of feeds the startup ecosystem, and it's very interesting to see as well. So these are two questions that I ask every person who I interview. So do you have any hot takes about ventures in Latin America? And do you have any advice? The podcast is for young investors and people in college, and people who are just trying to get more involved with the Latin American venture ecosystem. So I know you're also pretty young, so it's cool to hear from someone that is around the same age, and if you have any advice.
Yeah, I guess first in terms of like hot takes, I actually have one. I know I'm getting into it's really a hot take that I could have said, no, let's not mention this, but actually I believe it's really important. So I was speaking with another founder, another female founder, a couple of months ago, because I've heard a lot of times that people say, so there's a saying in some ways that it's more difficult for women to raise, and I've heard many people saying it's actually not. But I was speaking with her, and actually, I personally, I know this is personal, this could be subjective, but I do believe it's actually the case, because many people don't realize or think, no, like when they say they cannot fundraise, it's just because they're not trying as hard as they need, but it's the same for a man or for a woman. But actually, that's not the case. So what I've seen is, I have, as I said, I know this founder, which I get along really well, and she has this issue in which at some point when she was working at another company, she was meeting with clients, and she went at night to have dinner just for professional meetings, and when they finished dinner, the man there asked her, like, should we go? Well, now we go to the hotel. And she was like, what do you mean with the hotel? Yeah, I guess you're here for the reason. And she was like, no, of course not, like, this is business. And I'm mentioning this event because I guess many people don't realize that, at least how you asked about the process and the strategy. So I would have dinner, like go like drink something, or have a lunch with many investors, like many men's in some way, and there's no way they would think that I'm trying to get them into something else, right? And on the other case, I guess many times people get confused when they shouldn't, that they are doing business, like and for example, her, like, she wouldn't ask anyone to have dinner with her after that event, because she don't want to get exposed to that situation. And on the, like, I'm following with this thought. Actually, if you have a look, most of the CEOs, which means most of the operators, and then most of the investors, are men. So this means that they get exposed much more to these situations if they want to raise. So I think saying that this is not that there's no difference, I think it's being super biased and actually not paying attention at the big picture. And I think more and more we speak about these things, and we understand that there is a difference, that there are some things we need to speak as a community in some way. It's going to improve. But I think this is a hot take, which I know I'm getting into a field, like super controversial field, but I think it's important. I'm risky myself. I think it's wise, or at least I feel it's honest for me to mention it, because I actually see it happening.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I mean, female founders, one of my biggest like passions in terms of like supporting. That's why I got into ventures, and definitely I feel like in Latin America and in the US, it's I think in the US and in Europe maybe it's more spoken, but I feel like in emerging markets, since still like the startup community is predominantly male, these situations are unfortunately happening. And I definitely like seen testimonies and like stories of other female founders who complain about investors, having this getting confused and having this wrong idea of like meetings like that are supposed to be, and also the power dynamics are not really like well in that situation. So definitely, yeah, I think that's cool that you bring that up. And so the second question was about advice.
So advice on fundraising, you mean?
Advice in general, like for people who want to get involved, with the VC ecosystem in Latin America, with like startups and like in general.
Yeah, so advice is a strong word, I guess, for me. So I feel I'm just constantly learning, and as you said, I'm super young, so it's not that I'm super capable in some way of giving advice, but I can say, I guess, I don't know if for BC, especially for building something, like for starting with something, as I said. So in my case, I decided on August 2020s, like I'm not waiting for anyone here. It's like I need to do something big. I need to do it along with people, like do it together. But definitely to start, like you don't need to wait to someone to appear to start. You need to start, to keep pushing, to get hard, and then people will suddenly appear, and you can coach them, and you can get them in and empower them with your vision, and showing them why this is something big, and people will understand. But this is one of the first things, like just you need to go get it. You don't wait for other people to appear. You just do it. That would be the first one. The other would be, I guess, to try to enjoy the journey. So it's really intense. So especially this week. So to give you an idea, we say and we know that we are in a startup because your worst week, it's just the one before your best week, and we were having like I guess the past month and a half, one week which was amazing, then our most like our worst week ever, then an amazing week again, then our worst week ever, and then one good week. And at that point, I will tell the team, "Hey, rest this week, enjoy, go out at night, do anything, because the next week could be really intense." And actually, we broke this trend, and our last 2 weeks and a half or three weeks have been really good. But I guess the most important thing here is about enjoying the journey, because there are lots of things that are going to be happening that you look back and you're saying, these things that when was in front of me, I was thinking, no, this is a really big mountain, really difficult, and it's impossible for me to climb it and to go to the other side. And then when you moved 1 month in advance, you look at that, and that was just a small stone in the road. So I guess enjoy the journey. Remember that you never know where this can takes you and your team. So I think it's about enjoying every moment. And on the last notice, I think would be, especially for BC, that I think it's about trying to help people, like people who I've seen, as I said on the beginning, people who get into BC are especially passionate about helping people and contributing. So if you're like that, I think you have a lot of a really big opportunity, and you are going to be learning and being able to contribute in different fields. So I will just encourage people to either create their own venture. Like there's nothing you can lose. I mean, you can just learn. Like, if you ask me, like, if for some reason Strike would fail, like what would be failing, right? Because I met like incredible people during along these 2 years. I even made really good friends, like people I can really call friends, that would call me when they're not feeling well, besides Strike, like nothing to do with Strike, and in the same way I would do. So I think you just go do it. Like there's nothing bad that can happen. I guess you just go, and if it doesn't turn out the way you expected it, either way, it's going to be a great experience.
I love that optimism and that on that positive note, ending on that positive like note. So yeah, thank you, Santiago. This is very cool, and I appreciate you joining the podcast.
No, as I said, amazing to being able to join here and for the opportunity. I'm humbled, so thank you for doing this and for keeping with it with podcasts.
Yeah, thanks. I had a great time talking to Santiago. I love talking to fellow Uruguayans who are pretty involved in the startup ecosystem in LatAm, and I really appreciated like all the advice he gave and his time. So I hope you also have fun and that you enjoy this episode and come back for next one.